Hello. Thanks so much for helping with the Valentine's Day project. My name is Carolyn. I am Patty Mulvey's niece, and I'm also an art teacher. I'm a visual learner. I learn best when I'm watching somebody model something for me, and so I offered to make some videos of the card making to help out you fellow visual learners out there. So hopefully these videos are helpful. I apologize in advance for all of my art teacher lingo that comes through, and let's get started. Okay, let's start by going over the contents for the Quilted Valentine's card kit. So the kit does include a direction sheet and does have your quantities written on there. But what we should have is 10 of the card base, and that is stamped. We should have 10 of the textured paper layer, 10 of the plastic heart. You should have a large assortment of various patterned paper strips, and then 40 of the foam adhesive squares. You're also going to need your tape runner for this card, and then just a pair of scissors from home because there is some cutting involved. If you're missing anything from your kit, you can reach out to Patty Mulvey, and I'm including her contact information. And once you have all of your kit squared away, we can get started. So I'm actually going to deviate a little bit from the instruction sheet in the kit because I found when I was making these that it was best to start with the heart and let the adhesive stick for a few minutes before we do the trimming part of it. So you could follow the directions in the kit, but I found it was easier to start with the heart. So you notice I have 2 of the plastic hearts out, and that's because it's easy to lay out your composition of strips on one heart. And then when you go to transfer it onto the other, you can kind of see what your pattern looks like. So it's just a helpful trick to have 2 of them out. So what we're going to do is pick some of the strips and we're going to lay them down on the plastic heart. And you want the second strip down to cover the little notch in the heart. Like that. And then you're just choosing your different papers to lay out. So I found for most of my hearts that I made, I took about 8 or 9 papers to fill the whole heart, and you're leaving a little bit of a gap in between each paper because on our finished card we do want to see that pink background paper kind of shining through our heart. So I'm always paying attention to composition when I'm putting these papers together. Like I wouldn't want to have 2 of the same paper right on top of each other. I try to spread out maybe where I have a green or where I have a pink. It just makes an overall nice composition if you're aware of that while you're putting things together. Looking for one more little bit of green for the bottom. There we go. Okay, so now that I have my composition laid out how I like it, what I'm going to do is transfer it onto the other heart, starting with the second strip down. So when I'm adding on my tape, I don't need to run the whole strip. I just need to run part of it because we're not going to end up using the entire strip. We're going to end up trimming it. So you could reuse what you're not using, what you cut off, for another one of your hearts. So again, I'm making sure I'm covering the little notch, and we're going to guide everything off of this one. So we want this one to go on really nice and straight. Okay, and then I just fill in the rest of them. And you can see how I'm positioning them so that most of the excess is off to the one side, because again, then when I trim this, I can use those scraps for some of the other hearts. I don't love that paper. I'm going to switch. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside and let this have a few seconds to just kind of keep adhering, and then I'm going to come back to it in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to next add the textured paper onto the card base. The textured paper can sometimes not want to stick so well because of the texture, so feel free to be pretty generous with your tape. And then when you stick that on there, you want to leave a little bit of a white border all the way around. All right, I'm going to open up and add in my message. The recipients of our cards come from a variety of religious and cultural backgrounds, so we want to try to keep our message non-religious if possible. All right, so this guy's had a few seconds to sit and think about sticking really nicely. And I love this next step. It is so satisfying. So we're going to flip this over and give this guy a little haircut. So we want to be really careful not to cut the plastic, but you want to run your scissor right along the edge of the plastic and trim all the excess. I would say the hardest part of this is definitely going down in this little notch in the heart. So you just want to be super careful right there. You can see this guy tried to unstick on me. Get him back on there. This bottom one's trying to unstick a little bit too. So I'm just gonna hold really carefully onto that guy when I give him a trim. just going to come back in and do this notch. And there we have it. Ah, so satisfying. Looks so good. Okay. So final step is to get this heart adhered onto our card, and you're going to use 4 of your adhesive foam squares for that. So all of these paper strips are a slightly different size, so you want to just double check before you stick it on. These are being a little stubborn. That your paper is not skinnier than your adhesive strip. So I want to make sure that the strip isn't showing through the plastic anywhere. And so in my case, my strip is a little bit wider, and so I'm good to go. If my strip had been a little skinnier, I just trim the adhesive square so it doesn't show. So we want to put 2 of the adhesive squares on the second paper strip down, left and right. And then 1 towards the bottom. And again, checking each time to make sure that it's not wider than your paper. And then 1 in the middle. And then final step is just to get this on the front of the card. All right, so flip, and then this is going to go on a little bit of an angle. Give that a good stick. And there is our finished card.